I've been impacted by homelessness pretty much for my entire life. At an early age, I had two parents who struggled with substance abuse and addiction. I lived with my dad early on. My mom was homeless. She lived in the Bamboo in Spring Valley. And during that time, my dad was still battling with substance abuse and addiction, but we had a roof over our head until the addiction started to catch up and we eventually lost that home. And when I say we, it was both my sister and I. My sister was about 12 and I was 8 at the time. And just because I was so young, I didn't have a support group or a network of folks that would be able to take me in. My sister being a little bit older, she had friends and she went and lived with those friends. And I was, stuck living with my dad out of his truck. And I remember, those early years, 8 years old, driving around in my dad's truck looking for a place to park to sleep, whether it be in a neighborhood or a parking lot. And I vividly remember going and filling up 5-gallon jugs of water that I would use to brush my teeth or take what my dad called a bird bath in order to go to school. So during this time, my mom knew that both my sister and I needed help and in a big way. And so she took it upon herself to go get clean. She went through a couple of different recovery programs, and it took about 6 months for her to then get back on her feet through a sober living. And I do remember when in those years when she was getting clean, there was many nights that I actually those programs would make exceptions to have myself come and spend the night with my mom during those times. So I was very intimately aware of all the great work that they were doing, but also understanding, the deeper issues when it comes to addiction. Fortunately, during that time, my mom did get clean, and she took both my sister and I in, and we lived in Spring Valley in some low-income apartments. But things were really good. We had a roof over our head. We had Christmas presents. I remember my mom was working 2 jobs, and this is in the buildup of '04, '05, leading up to the 2008 financial crisis. And I remember, things were going well, and my mom wanted to live the American dream and buy a home. And so I remember during that time, the realtors coming over and kind of telling her that she could afford these homes, which seemed, way out of the ordinary from my upbringing and background. But we eventually bought a home in the suburbs in 2004, 5, 6. And my mom did that through an adjustable rate mortgage. Once that mortgage started to take on additional interest and the grace period started to lapse, I remember my mom, with that stress, bringing on roommates. A lot of these roommates were the same types of people that growing up my family would associate with. And sooner or later, my mom, again relapsed just due to the stress and the pressure, and we were evicted from that house. But this time was different. I had a friends and a network, and one of my best friend's mom was a probation officer for adolescent youth. She was actually worked for juvenile hall here in San Diego. And I remember vividly spending the night at their house, Saturday night turned into Sunday night, turned into Monday morning, taking me to school alongside of her with her kids. And then Tuesday night, she sat me down and she looked me in the eyes and she said, "Honey, you could stay here for as long as you like." And that forever changed the trajectory of my life. I ended up living with that family from when I was 12 years old all the way through 17. I shared Christmas with them, Thanksgiving. They completely opened up the doors and took me on and called me their son. And I'm forever grateful to this day for what they did for me. All during this time, my mom was relapsed, and she went through her struggles with addiction and recovery again, and she's been clean now for about 15 years. I'm in my 30s now, so praise God that she's been clean and is doing well. But unfortunately, my dad was homeless up until the time that he passed, which was about a couple of years ago. After I graduated from high school, I put myself through undergrad, and I went to Chico State. I got a dual degree in finance and economics. I then went on to work for BlackRock, the largest asset manager in the world, where I spent 7 years. I married my high school sweetheart. We have a 9-month-old baby girl named Riley. We bought our first home and I actually just graduated with my master's in real estate from the University of San Diego this past year. I'm so passionate about what the Courtney family did for me, and how blessed I was throughout my life, because I know that had they not stepped in during that time, my story would be very different than it is today. And I'm smart enough to know that there's no way that I could have accomplished all of these things and have the support system and the life that I do now, had I not had so many friends, mentors, families step in my life and help me out and provide me with the foundation for me to then go and grow and create my own journey. And so that's why I'm really passionate about giving back today. And so I lead the advisory committee on lived experience for the Lucky Duck Foundation, where I joined the board just earlier this year. And I'm really looking to hopefully give back in a meaningful way to our at-risk youth and at-risk seniors population here in San Diego, where I can make a meaningful difference by helping those individuals that have similar stories to me, or have even worse stories and had even a harder upbringing, or a tougher hand dealt, and really try to lean in and see if we can make a difference, so we could help people help themselves, and really help people not only alleviate the suffering around homelessness, but help people overcome homelessness.